Another fabulous day with Troy and Danny.
Yeah, the, the Danny and Troy show, and we're just hanging out again now that we've gone through the series of creative writing and got that kind of to a point where we can say, okay, that's where we'd like to bring it to an end and let people actually observe it and get what they can from it and hopefully comment and give us feedback. And
can I do a quick plug for that, since we're
sure.
on the downhill side of it?
Yeah.
Is that I want them and you to know what I'm doing. I didn't just throw it in the garbage, right?
Sure.
Principally, I'm doing probably the most important thing after creativity and recording it, which you and I have talked about many times, is editing, right?
Sure.
Never create and edit at the same time.
Yes.
Use one head at a time. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going back and cleaning it up and seeing whether or not it fits together.
Great.
Because we did it in segments, and now as I go back through it, making little typos, correcting typos, seeing if there's some sense of flow, if there's something I did inadvertently that made me look good better in the future, put a star by it, that kind of stuff. So that's where I am with it now, and I'll let you know when I'm finished with it.
That's amazing, actually, for us, or for you in particular, to provide that insight. I mean, you hear about creative writers, or you hear about a creative, song or movie or whatever it is, but to get down to the process is what we've opened the door to, which is really appreciative of what you've done, Danny, to show people, okay, it doesn't all just come out as a masterpiece. I'm sure for even those masters that in the industry for many years, they have to go through a process, and this is what I think is so valuable, and I'm really appreciative of what you shared with us, because we can see that it's raw, it's in the aspects of, like you said, just let it flow, bring it out, the content will come, and then don't edit at the same time, because that will inhibit. But now we're into this next phase where we actually, okay, let's see what we've got and start to compile it. This is coming in, this is staying out, I got to work on this bit. So that is the true value and essence of what we're trying to, I believe.
Absolutely. And a couple of other things I want to say is that this was in camera language, this exercise was an over the shoulder shot, right? So people could actually see what was going on,
right? Yeah.
And we were filming it, so it was part of the production process. And in doing that, I learned probably the most important realization of movie land and that whole creative process when I overheard the big secret from some actors. I think I was in Marin County, which is in the San Francisco area, across the Golden Gate Bridge, and we were doing something, and somebody said to another person, an older man, this was a young guy, he said, I didn't realize it, and he started whispering, and I won't destroy the punchline because it happened to me during filming of Eddie Murphy's Metro, and I noticed that when you go in, you want to know the script, right? Okay. Well, I think there has to be a measure of bravado that goes along with that, particularly if you're looking for the secret, right? The way in. And all of these famous people, all these good actors, were filmable actors. I'll put it that way.
Right.
Weren't following the script. But here I was thinking that what are they doing? And the response inside was principally, well, should I break script too? Should I just say what I want to say? That's like a violation, isn't it? I mean, I may get kicked off the set, cause a lot of problems. You know, they're going to have to escort me off, and then they're going to have to find somebody else, and people are going to be pissed. And like they say in LA, you'll never have lunch in this town again. So I risked it, you know,
Yeah.
and about that time, Clarence Carter, who was Murphy's director, came up to me and he said, "Hey, just do what you want to do." And I knew that by that point in time, a lot of things that I had associated with that kind of behavior was the studio owns the script. I don't care who you are. If you
Sure.
gave them the movie rights, you gave them, you know, the editorial rights or whatever, they can extend that to the actor as well. And most of the memorable moments, and I won't go through them in films, is when the actors go off script. And because then it's like, you know, it's original, it's fresh, and so on. And that's what I did. And that's when I got invited back to Hollywood. And it was like, well, I got some stuff to do in Russia. And it's like, well, you think about it, okay? Just let us know. I said, okay, I will. And I didn't go back then. Actually, I did another movie or two in New Orleans. And well, anyway, so when the reason I'm bringing that up is because I think the same kind of mindset should happen with people who break script, right?
Sure.
Even if you're the author and you break script, there's a reason for it. It's fresh, it's new, you don't know where it's going. So grab it while it's there, write it down, you know, realize how fresh it is. Just do that. And then later, the subject we're talking about here is you can edit later.
Sure.
But grab it, right?
Yeah.
While you grab that brass ring while it's there,
Right.
and you won't regret it. And that's part of the editorial process, is having that bravado to, you know, break the rules, to step outside of your own confines and get it down. You may have a moment of, you know, inspiration and genius, and you'd hate for that to go by. It happens often enough because you can't write fast enough or whatever it is. But get it while the getting's good.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly, well, yeah, really well summarized, I believe, in terms of what the essence we're looking for in terms of this process is to not go too scripted. It's to have the, you know, courage or freedom or, you know, environment that allows you to be a little bit, you know, out of the box. I don't know if that's the right word, but not so scripted. And yeah, but yeah, let me throw a little bit of discussion topics into this as well, because we're talking about what I actually did last night with visiting the meetups in Brisbane. So
yeah, people don't know about that. So why don't you give them a brief intro?
Yeah, sure. I mean, meetup.com was, I think it must have been like 15 years ago or longer that it was generated, and it's this place where you just put your interests and then say, okay, I want to meet up people who are having the same interests. It can be, you know, from horse riding to cooking to IT. And I actually created one a long time ago. And it's a great way of getting out, and especially now that COVID kind of settling down. I mean, yeah, these guys that I met last night were saying that they haven't been able to do a meetup for so long because of COVID, but it's starting to pick up now. And in my interest area, it's data analytics, and I found the Brisbane Data Analytics meetup group, and they had a meetup last night. And I thought, I mean, I've been kind of self-isolating. I mean, yeah, especially, you know, traveling to Bhutan, but I've still been, you know, doing my work, as I say. I believe I am, and I put myself in the category as a digital nomad. I can do my work from anywhere in the world as long as I have the internet and a laptop. But yeah, I can see as my own self-analysis that I've been a little bit out of touch with people and, you know, going out to events and things like this. So I thought it's a great time, great practice, great opportunity to get out there and meet some people in what is my hometown, as I was born here in Brisbane, Australia. and thought, let's go scope it out. So yeah, I went there, and they had actually I had trouble finding the place, and I was a little late, but it ended up being in this huge skyscraper, 40 stories high, and they had the top floor. I had to go through security to get in. Actually, what happened was I was going around because my navigator was saying, "Oh, it's here," and then I couldn't find it because I was looking for like a little room on the side or something, and it's maybe in the park or outside, but it was yeah. Then I asked the security, she's like, "Yeah, it's here," and they had a little sign next to the door that said, "Meet up, call this number," and then I called them. Someone came down and took me up, and yeah, it's all been funded by this company called Servian, and they're an IT, data analytics, and business consultancy company, and they actually started, coincidentally enough, the same year I started my data scientist company. So it was about 12 years ago, no, 14 years ago, 2008. And now they just, last year, been bought out by this bigger company called Cognizant, and that company was established in the US like in the 80s. And yeah, the feel, I think, going back to our point of discussion, is I can't help think that they've just been following the script, right? When you look at their website, you talk to the people, it's about, okay, we provide this advisory, we provide this consultancy, and we provide this development. Hello. We got distractions.
Oh, you need to lock your door.
Childbirth.
Oh my goodness.
This is River.
Oh, wow.
And Neo. Come here, Neo. Say hello to everybody. And Danny and everybody who's going to watch this later.
Hi there.
Oh. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi.
As I was talking to these people and asking them about, what they did, and one thing is that.
Was it like, what was the setting like, Troy? Was it,
right?
Did you have a podium with a speaker and then everybody else, or was it like group therapy where they all sit in a circle?
Well, I got there late. There was already a speaker. Vin was his name, and he worked for Servian also as a senior consultant, and he was talking about a project and the tech stack that is involved, the technologies and how he did it and the problems he was having and how they solved them. So when I got there, he was up there talking. There was about 30 people in this kind of office space, but it was like not an office space, it's like a hangout room for the officers. And yeah, they had pizza open, there was beers there, and yeah, drinks and water and coffee.
Sorry I didn't go.
So yeah, and it's on this top story of this 30-story building, and the beautiful view, night sight lights of Brisbane City, and if you look down, you see the river.
Oh.
So yeah, Vin is doing his thing as I kind of sneak in because I'm late and just find a seat at the back, and the co-host who was organizing it, her name, I can't remember it now, but it's not a common name, and it sounded like seashells, but I'm sure it wasn't seashells. But she said, brought me if I needed a drink, I said just some water. She brought me some water, and then just watched and listened. And yeah, Vin went through his slides and boom, 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 this is what we're doing. And then there was questions. People asked a bit about the particular technologies and how he solved challenges around version control, and how many was on their team and how they managed people, multiple or concurrent activities. So he answered all those questions, and he's like, okay, and then thanks for listening. And then we kind of just stood around and chatted, and yeah, had a beer and asked questions. So I kind of just roamed around the room and yeah, got to talking to the guys. I mean, it seemed like, right, this was a actual Servian event. And perhaps, and I'm just making a little bit of analysis on my own part, is that they just wanted to have more social activity in the company.
Uh-huh.
And of course, having run for 14 years and, at this top story of this building and being bought, I'm not sure how much, but it would be in hundreds of millions, I'd say, of purchase. I know I was just looking at other company that I mentioned, Cognizant, who's something like $12 billion company, and it bought out this one. So then I think they have multiple departments. I think there's about 500 or more staff. So they said, okay, we want people to come together from the different departments or different interests and say, let's have a meetup. And data is broad across everything. So they're talking about data analytics, and they get people from the company coming, and it's kind of their social event, but they've opened it up for other people. And people like me can attend. And that's what the essence I see of why they do it, because the room would cost money, the pizzas cost money, there'd be quite a bit of investment in that guy who did the presentation. He works for the company, but at the same time, nobody was selling anything. Anyway, I got to talking to the other co-host, Ilya, and he also is a senior consultant at Servian. And he was saying that, he's interested in getting speakers. So I mentioned what I was doing in the LinkedIn group, and then he was like, okay, let's share contact details. And I met another couple of people, one data scientist working on the roads in terms of scanning. They use scanning technology, which is just a camera to take photos of potholes or basically road conditions. So every so often, maybe 3 months, 6 months, they run these cameras over the roads and take pictures all along the way. They compare them with other in the past, and then particularly in the potholes, they say, okay, this pothole is getting bigger and needs to be managed. So they do that all through artificial intelligence and visual imaging. So that was an interesting conversation. And I met another guy who's kind of looking for work. He was just seeing, he actually applied at that company, but decided that it was going to be too boring because the work that they were doing was pretty much rudimentary stuff. Because there's a lot of companies in Brisbane that are still a little behind. We have this technological initiative or movement, which is to get into the cloud, and that means instead of having physical computers like servers under your desk, everybody is just running off infrastructure that's on this larger infrastructure that doesn't actually have a single location, because you could be working in Sydney servers or Singapore servers or servers in the US. So he is saying they are in the process of just helping companies get into the cloud, and it's pretty rudimentary, and it wasn't exciting enough for him, so he's still looking for opportunities. So that was, it was good for me. I think I talked a little bit too much about myself, talking about
your favorite subject.
And saying I got this LinkedIn group and 174,000, and people going, oh wow, and then talking about Bhutan and the other companies I got going, and so, but it was good practice for me. And it was good to get out there and see and meet some people. But going back to my main point, what I'd like to talk about and get your thoughts on is, what I was saying is, I think they've just been following the script. And in following the script, they've obviously grown a company over 10 years or more, from a startup to 800, I think it's staff they've got there.
Wow.
And Yeah, now last year have just been bought out by a larger company. It's all cookie cutter stuff, I think. I mean, when I hear about it, it happens. But still, and going back to the guy I met, his name was Tim, saying it's a little too boring. What we're introducing here is a little bit of excitement, a little bit of creativity, a little bit of freedom that I think came through when I was talking to Tim. And he was looking for that. And I think that's what we're talking about as an offering. So, yeah, I think it's great what we're doing. I think, like you're saying, we're not finished with the first part. That's just the intro, that's the taste. And now we're getting to the second stage, which is, you know, compiling, editing. Let's see what we got. And yeah, as we go through this process ourselves, really refining it into a point where we can, you know, go down the street and say, hey, we've got this ready to go. And, you know, just watch this as the first step, you know, let us know what you think. And, yeah, build on top of what we've already started.
Interesting. You got something going on with your face in your camera, maybe? Do you have sunshine coming in the window?
Do I? Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's much better. Yeah. You were pixelated.
right.
Pixelated Troy. There you go.
Do that.
That's a little better. Yeah, you look human now, not half robot, right?
Right.
You know, that's a very interesting story. A couple of points that I thought were interesting for me was that you can be on a computer your whole life, but at least two people or two organizations saw the need of actually having human contact. Getting out there, whatever cannot be represented or collected on the internet, you know, shaking a person's hand, hearing their story without it being scripted, going off script, being curious. And then as your friend said, and your acquaintance said, principally what I gathered is that he needed to shake things up a bit.
Yes.
Right? If you're going to be bored on the job, well, you know, I don't know if you were a candy maker and you were bored on your job, I don't think I would buy your candy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Or even if you sold deviled eggs, you know, and this happens to me from time to time. You know, the life is not so settling where I am, and I'm always really surprised that my mindset, my mind frame, affects my work 100% directly, right? That it's sort of like somebody has like tilted my brain and I'm not seeing things correctly, so I'm not answering things correctly, I'm not applying things correctly, right? That I would by correctly would meaning if I'm in good spirits, I'm doing well, I feel like I'm, you know, making an impression, I'm doing a good job, I'm being creative and blah, blah, blah. Then everything is different. And it's nice from hearing you say that people are visibly and directly affected by this, like we all are, right? If you see somebody come in that just had an argument with their wife, and it's like, this is going to be a bad day, right? Your productivity level is going to be down. But they say anyway that, you know, if you have 10 people, at least 2 of them carry 80% of the work that's being done. So I suppose they calculate this into, you know, whatever it takes to be a $10 billion company or whatever. But, you know, I suppose from listening to you, it's more than just a matter of you both started at the same time and they got to, you know, point number 10. Well, you're still in, you know, the decimal range, sure, under the, you know, integer of 1. Yeah. And it's like we make these comparisons all the time. Sure. And I think that's part coming off of what we were doing with the book, or the, you know, the Kraken, yeah, that we were reporting on. I don't have an answer for people. Maybe the answer which is what Drukpa, our central character, was searching for, and going back over it in the editing phase now, I'm starting to realize outside of not letting it flow, but being critical of what's the message that's going across, but at the same time knowing that the story ends with him being shaken by an introduction to Zazen, right? Zen Buddhism, even though he claims to be a Buddhist and all, he's also, you know, sort of not a true disciple or whatever. So those kinds of surprises come. It's like, one other quick story. I was in Riga. My friend Pavel was pushing his son around in a baby carriage in the park. And he was talking about his grandfather, and he said, you know, Danny, that my grandpa said to me, you know, Pavel, you shouldn't be so concerned about whether you're going to make it or not, right? First of all, it's not a destination. He said, because you may be the father of the one who makes it, as a way of speaking.
Okay.
So, you know, it came across to me as just do your job, right?
Yes.
Don't be so concerned about, you know, controlling all the money in the world, because, you know, my father's family came from a long line of blacksmiths, right? And they apprenticed in their own shop, and so on and so on. And what they learned, like I did when I was a youth, I hung around the blacksmith shop, is incalculable. It's what language doesn't say, right? About, and I must say, my conclusion is enjoy your work, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because whether you have any control over it or not, you may know it, you may not know it, but if it's not, I don't want to use these words, but I will. If it's not meant to be, then it won't. But at least, you know, do your best. The best chance you have is do the best you can, right? Give it everything you've got, and then the other forces of nature or whatever they are, will help determine or clear the path for you, you know, and taking you to your final destination, but of which you would never have gotten to had you not done your best work.
Sure.
Right? Because you can do your best work and people will say, okay, why don't you go to the kitchen and, well, no, we'll let somebody else do it because, you know, you'll hard boil the eggs and I want soft boiled eggs. And then nothing is clear to these people and they don't know what to do with you. Principally, it's probably the most important thing, right? Which is the difference between having a job and having a career from my point of view. That if you have a job, you may be doing something that you don't have your heart in, and you're not going to be performing at your ultimate capacity, right? And you're doing yourself a disfavor in the process.
Sure.
And I think that, you know, waiting for the mysterious things to happen, lightning striking or whatever, speaking from my own life and a few of the astounding accomplishments that I've been credited with principally came as a surprise, you know. I don't know a better way to not get a job than to apply for it. You don't want the job, apply for it.
Sure.
And they'll turn you down because they already have somebody picked, right?
Sure.
And it's like, well, we had to do this because the law says we have to do this, and we'll set the computer up so it says blah blah blah, you're wonderful, perfect, and in the beginning of the second paragraph it says unfortunately, right? That's what I do if I'm playing around. I just play around with it now just to see what's going on.
Yeah. And
you just look at the second paragraph, and if it begins with the U word, you know, it's just delete, and it's kind of fun in that way. But I would be the same way and am the same way. It was like the story about Rockefeller, right? Is that he wouldn't hire anybody unless he had dinner with them. I don't mean street sweepers and things like that. So or lunch, right? So he would invite them to lunch or dinner, and they would be eating and chatting together. And if they salted their food before they tasted it,
Oh,
they weren't going to get hired.
wow. Yeah.
Right. So
Good one.
it's, you know, people have these little funny little ways about them. Right?
Sure.
And you just never know. You just never know. And just stay light. You know, I don't look for a job.
Mhm.
Or you know, or something to do. I've been fortunate enough where most of my life it's come to me.
Yeah.
You know? And then I would ask myself that process, what did I go through to create that opportunity, right?
Mhm,
Which came to
mhm,
me. So it was just being natural, you know, giving answers. And then of course, if I didn't have an answer, I would tell them, you know, give me some time and I'll get back to you and make sure that I do.
Sure.
But I never tell them I know something when I don't.
Sure.
And then I'm quick to admit mistakes if I make them and say, you know, and be honest about it. No, or if I don't know something, you know, like I said, then, you know, give me some time and I'll be back with you. But if you don't think people can spot a lie, try it on yourself, right? Like, yeah, well, when I was 12, it's like, sure, right, okay, thanks a lot, lunch is over. Take the salt shaker with you.
Yep. Yeah. No,
It's
that's
funny, you
great.
know,
Right.
and I would say that, you know, for anybody who has years of experience,
Mhm,
it's,
mhm.
you know, I would say, depending on the person, of course, I would say, um, don't toot your own horn. I don't think it's going to help.
Yeah.
Not-
Yep. Yep. Well, that's what I think. In hindsight, I was talking too much about myself with these meetups. It's like, and I don't know
Give
how
us an
that happened.
example. What was it like when you're
Well,
talking about yourself? Well, enough about you. What do you think about me?
that would
Enough about
be,
me. What do you think about
yeah.
me?
I mean, to start with, when the co-organizer, co-host came down, she came down and we are traveling up. She said, hey, come with me. And I was saying, I apologize for being late. I couldn't find it. And she's like, no problem, I'll come up. And she said, where are you from? And then I thought she was saying, like, where are you from in the, locations of the world? And I was like, well, I'm actually born in Brisbane, Australia. I just came back from Bhutan and I've been living over there for a few years. And
I got a
last trip.
girlfriend.
So
Beer there.
it's that, yeah, but she was then, I'm in what company you work for? And I'm like, oh, so, that's an example of
Just
what,
want to know what section to seat you in.
that's
You got
right.
a chair in the back.
And then I was like, oh yeah, what company I work for? Oh, okay. And then, well, I have 3 companies in Australia right now and 1 in Bhutan. And then I'm talking again about
Me.
yeah. So I think, I don't know, practice or what, or whether, that matters or not, but that's what I'm saying when I felt like I was just talking too much about myself. I should have said asked her a question, or where are you from?
One word answers are good too.
That's right.
Next time, just
Yeah.
tape a razor blade to your wrist, okay, as a reminder. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, live and learn, right?
Sure. That's right.
So, did your adventure spur you on to something? Some future action? I mean, with going in next time with your lips sewed together, outside of that,
Sure.
what did you
yes.
learn from it?
Well,
Nothing. Next time, I know better how to talk about me.
it's that, but I think there's an opportunity for us to, promote what we're talking about in this call and what we're talking about, in the other calls and our developing website, Datalogical Services. I think Datalogical Services could, service this company, Servium, or even the one that just bought it out, Cognizant. And I think it would be refreshing. The point that, yeah, when I was talking to that guy, Tim, and he was like, oh, just looks a little bit too boring. I'm going to try and find something. And the fact that they're actually doing these meetups that are kind of in brackets meetups, but they're company hosted, and it's like more than half the people there were from one company. So there's something missing there. And of course, yeah, they're managing it the way they are through meetups and having these socials every, first Thursday of the month it is, or something like that. Or, and then
next time, just tell them, I'm here to meet somebody. I need a girlfriend or something like that. You brought to mind a couple of things that you and I have spoken about before, and that is, if you're thinking about starting a company, the last thing you want to do is to get in competition with Coca-Cola, right?
Sure.
You want to be in an area in which there is no competition. And the saying that goes along with that is, when you're the best, there is no competition, right?
Sure.
And now another little acting story, which I'll try and meld these two together, is about Robert Redford. You know the name, right?
Yes, I do.
And he got his first break. I know from a close associate of mine that he was auditioning on stage in New York, I believe it was, and he had had enough, like your guy, right, at this meeting. But he took a different approach, right? His approach was to walk onto stage bouncing a basketball, something he could focus his attention on, right, and make his moves, and then I guess shoot the ball. I'm horrible at basketball. Shoot the basketball and go off stage, right? And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for not your delivery of the usual, right? But, and it's the same way with that movie, that I was telling you about with Eddie Murphy, right? Just do what you want to do. And that fresh character, instead of selling people.
Sure.
Right? Well, let me tell you about myself. And it's like, you know what? I don't want to hear about you. Because if that's your icebreaker, it would be better to say something about yourself as the icebreaker. You could say, I just finished building a wing on my barn, and I am so happy. I did that once in New Orleans, right? They asked me, they rented a hotel room, French Quarter, movie people. And they said, they were talking to me and they said, this is fantastic. And I said, I'm glad you like it. And they said, can you read the script now? And I said, yeah. So I read the script and they said, no. Do it like you did when we were just talking. And I said, you know what you're asking me to do is to learn the lines and forget them.
Sure.
But I didn't know at that time, because this was pre-Hollywood, that what I should have done was just, which nobody follows the script anyway, except, of course, Joe Biden, right? He would be a dead man walking if he didn't have a teleprompter in front of him or something in his ear, right? Besides beans. Uh-oh, I'm politically incorrect. Oh, well. But, that's the whole thing, is to, instead of saying, let me tell you about myself, you can say, my cat just had 13 kittens, and suddenly you've got their attention.
Yes.
Well, it's her and her daughter. I think she had 9 and the other one had 4 or whatever. That is like, good Lord. Yeah, I said, I think she's got some pig genes in her, because it's like, no, I've never seen a cat. I've never heard of a cat having so many kittens. Sure. Now they're growing up. They're all fantastic. They all have their own personality. And that is your interview. One more, just to cement the fact. Here I was, another movie audition, sitting across the table from the director and the CD, the casting director, side by side. And it was in New Orleans, and I said, I had just gotten into cigars. I had this I still have it, this little leather cigar case, with 2 cigars in it. And I had just come from the store where I had bought 2. And I walked in, and the guy said, whoever it was said, this is Danny Teal. And I said, how you doing? I said, would you like a cigar? To the director. And I said, these are special. And I said, smell it, and wet it like Monica Lewinsky would. And I said, to him, these are really special. And he said, well, gave him one. I said, what's so special about them? This is my audition. I wasn't going to read for it, right?
Right.
And he said, what's so special? And I said, they're rolled between the thighs of virgins. Principally, I think I did read something, but he wasn't really there anymore. He was halfway between Mars and Jupiter.
Right.
But when I walked out, is like, okay, I guess I go home now, because I knew I had the role, right?
Yeah. Right.
That's a significant role too, and that's what it is. It's not. Last thing we want to do is talk shop, right? You talk shop when you're on the clock. Right? And even before that, you want to warm up to people. Right?
Yeah.
You'll get the answers you were looking for, or you want, or you won't, or whatever. And you know what? You're working for somebody else. So that's not like if you were working for yourself, then you would principally, I think, be required to do some of this, cigars rolled between the thighs of French virgins. I believe I said to him, I said, those girls are really hard to find. And he broke down laughing. And the CD next to him was a woman. She had a big shake her head and big smile on her face. And it was like, you know what? That's me. That you want to know who you're getting? That's who you're getting.
Great.
And there are countless stories about that. The thing I don't like about Shakespeare is, those words are carved in stone, and there are probably at least 3 people that know whether or not you're going to misquote him or not. So it's like, okay, tell me about yourself.
Right.
Like the woman escorting you upstairs, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but you probably don't recognize me, but Troy Sadowski.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, see that one with the L on the L button? That means lobby. Sooner you hit that L button, better off the group will be. Yeah, take a slice of pizza with you. Thanks. And that's it, really. Just open the can before you try to eat the worms inside.
Sure. Exactly. Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
That's great, but it's like it's just the first one of many, and getting out there, and at the same time, refining what we're doing, what we're having to offer, and this whole aspect of allowing people to be expressive,
loosen up, give them a chance to loosen up, right?
Do what they love, or you said some words along those lines in this session, this recording. So we help people do what they are meant to do, and
what they love doing, and have fun doing.
That's right.
Critical elements, absolutely critical.
Exactly.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Say, I brought you a copy of my resume. I thought we could go over it together. It's like, you see that girl over there? Why don't you practice with her? Okay, go ahead. Next. Like the barber shop, right?
Yeah.
So there you have it. Yep.
So sounds good. So we'll continue our journey, and we'll continue to explore the best way to put our services forward, as well as trying it out and talking to people and saying, what do you think? And I'm sure with a few practice runs, people will be just coming in and saying, tell me more.
Be natural. Be natural.
Right.
Don't apply for the job.
Sure.
Because you know what? They're going to trick you one way or the other, right? They're going to have some kind of a personality interview or whatever, character analysis or whatever while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, you're walking along the seashore and there's a child in the waves that's drowning. What would you do? I'd go get an ice cream, really. I know that kid, right? I've seen him before. He does that all the time. Wants attention. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, yeah.
I made some notes about maybe next time, which kind of we more or less talked about them in our previous session when we were talking about this meeting that you were going to, and we were talking about what kinds of things do you ask people, right? You ask them, what are you doing? We need ask the right questions. What do? We package the people that you need and the services, right? We try to refine, we work towards refining your objective. We do comprehensive clarification, devise a strategy. How are you presenting it? What's the contractual arrangement you want to establish? We are the project managers. We have to do planning and project design, establish a price, and find the right opportunity for you. And along that line, I made a few notes. I just want to read them off, and maybe we could talk about them next time.
Okay.
Sort of a restatement of what we had said last time, and that is make sense of it all, right? Right? Make sense of it all, and then I would ask this procedure, I would ask them to assay their assets.
Okay.
What makes you think you can do this? And then self-examination. Do you think you're capable of doing this? Do you have the confidence? Do you have, do you break down and cry every time somebody hands you a script and you're in an audition? I cry really well, I can cry now if you'd like. What are the capabilities that you have? What is the experience that you have? And then how have you applied it in your life? Business is a part of life. Life is bigger. We used to say in San Fran is that life is a three-legged stool, right?
Okay.
And if one of those legs, I think it was three, is shorter than the rest, you're going to rock. No, it wouldn't work with a three-legged stool, would it? Anyway, it was like business, health, family, and recreation, including sleep or something like that. So we have to build a stool that doesn't rock.
Right.
That would have to be a four-legged stool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We can do three-legged stools too, or even two-legged stools if you like.
Oh, I've seen one leg. Yeah. With the seat on.
Yeah, like at the racetrack, right? They got just one-legged stool.
Got to be careful it doesn't fall off and you don't realize.
Yeah, the seat doesn't fall off. All right, okay. Then we'll have you racing the horses or the dogs or whatever. Okay, so I'll probably bring that up again and we can chat about it, unless you've got something happening in your very active life, and I'm very happy to see you out meeting people. This is exactly what I want to do. As you know, I'm sequestered in the country now in North Carolina, enjoying my privacy and doing a little healing, things like that. But I'm anxious to get back on the road, very much so. Once gas gets below $20 a gallon. Yeah. One last final note just came to my mind is one of my nephews just got married in Philadelphia, and there was a guy at my table. I didn't know at the time that he was the father of my nephew's twin brother, who was planning on getting married in Seattle to his daughter in August.
Okay.
I didn't know who he was.
Sure.
And that was just, I wasn't interviewing for the job.
Yeah.
A job. And he, in the whole, of course, he was drinking a little bit and was telling me how much money he had and something about his brother, about the gondola he has that goes down the cliff to the railroad tracks below, all this sort of stuff. And I was giving, natural reaction. Just having a good conversation with the guy. He wasn't particularly that interesting, but I kept chatting and chatting and chatting. And then the whole way he was telling me, what he's looking for and what do I do and all this sort of stuff. I didn't know it was an interview because I wasn't looking for a job.
Mhm.
So I gave him just straight up answers. I didn't get all excited or anything. Wow, you mean you have $20 million in a box under your bed and $100 bills? Can I come over sometime? Or whatever like that. And then come to find out now, the whole treatment of preparing for August for his daughter's wedding. Well,
Okay.
people, travel agents, everybody, we got to get all this straight now. And like for the other son, who I think my brother loves equally as well, there
Mhm.
wasn't anything like that. We got to change your ticket now because we want you at the rehearsal dinner. And it's like, I didn't go to the last one. I don't think I missed anything except maybe some really good seafood. And
Mhm.
but now everybody's because Grant is taking special effort to make sure that I'm sitting at his table.
Okay.
Like, oh, Grant, man, don't do that.
Okay. Okay.
So, and that came from just being myself. And
Yes.
it's the same way when I was in New York. I know I got 10 seconds. I'll see anybody I want if you give me 10 seconds. And in that 10 seconds, I have to tell them why I'm there and why I want to talk to them.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I think I'll pull the plug on Danny right now and say goodbye.
Okay.
Okay? I'll
Okay.
see you tomorrow, okay?
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Troy.
See you tomorrow.
Have a good day, man.
You too.
Ciao.